Rider panel again. It's gonna start off just like yesterday. Opinion warnings. We've got opinions on these shows. I'm sure you guys do too. We may like a show you hate. We may hate a show you like. These are shows aimed at 10-year-olds about saving the world, so everyone just be nice to each other. There's something good in every series.
What do you think that's just?
We did show last night. Yep, so let's go to...
We usually run this as a 2-hour panel.
It's Kamen Rider Kuuga.
Before we get started, are there shows that you guys want us to spend more time on? Any favorite shows that you
I expect Gaim will be a big topic.
Gaim will be a big topic. I've heard it called for Decade, and we will talk a lot about Decade, because we have feelings about Decade.
I know you also said
Anyone for Fives?
We'll talk about Fives, sure.
Fives and Blade are my
I'll talk
favorites.
about Hibiki all you like.
And yeah, Blade definitely.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to talk to you about Kuuga whether you want me to or not.
Yeah.
Because it's my favorite of the series.
It's your favorite thing ever. Let's not mince words.
I named a cat after Kuuga.
We named our cat Kuuga.
Kuuga
Story of
was the
Ichibro.
show that brought the franchise back. It was the 2000 series. Kamen Rider hadn't been on television for a year before that, and you've got a police detective.
A decade before that.
Yeah. Yes, I do. A decade before that. You had a police detective and this wandering dreamer are trying to save the world from an ancient evil unleashed by archaeology, because archaeology is always bad in any...
You never know
Don't
when
wake
you're
the dragon.
going to wake up an evil organization of pre-human creatures.
There's no way you could say death curse. Warning of death.
Quick question about Kuuga.
Yes.
Is there a fully sub-series with the Groggy speak translated?
Not yet. However, Midnight Crew has posted 1 to 13 with Gronky subs.
Okay.
They're updating it as they go, so it might be a while, probably end of the summer. Before
Okay, because that's definitely worth a rewatch.
Yeah, I'd love to see it with. Although there are definitely like codexes out there.
There are codexes out there, so you can, if you speak Japanese, you can translate Grungy on your own. It's a big
Step 1.
She has taught herself so much Grongi, you have no idea.
Words.
Well, you worked really hard for research for a few things.
I have made complete sentences in Gromby, but it's only because she helps me, and I only remember 2 words.
I just love Japanese.
Just pick up the
But yeah, it's awesome. It successfully revived the franchise, and
despite having no budget
shows later.
You could say defibrillated the franchise.
Yes, you could. It helped the franchise rise to the occasion.
Hey, maybe that's why there's
Oh, pun hours started, ladies and gentlemen.
Went back to some of your very basic themes for Kamen Rider.
Wasn't Kamen Rider only supposed to come back for 1 year to replace Metal Heroes?
That's
And
what.
It was basically made to see if there was any interest in it.
Yeah, because Metal Heroes wasn't doing as well as they wanted, and they were looking to see what can we use, and if Kuuga did poorly, they were going to be pretty much done with Kamen Rider. That was kind of their last hurrah. But instead it did really well.
It's also a big counterpoint to the Metal Heroes, who are very science fiction based, where we now have this new Kamen Rider who, unlike the previous ones, is much more science fantasy. His belt is an ancient artifact, but it's just as much magic as it is science, which is nifty.
Other big themes that are a little more unique to Kuuga was the power of community. You only had one rider, which is pretty rare to just have one rider for the whole series.
This has not happened.
He had a huge supporting cast, Ichijo, the police detective, and other people on the police force. He has friends who are archaeologists.
For some reason, Jean.
I was about to say, and the French guy.
Well, he's another
supposed
person.
to be American,
Yeah.
I think.
He's another. He's supposed to be an American. He has
Dodge
a French name, yet he's played by a Russian. I love Jean.
And he's
But
actually
They tried to nail as many holes as they could with that one.
Attempt at making a gaijin character Toei's ever had.
Well, he's just another guy working at the university, and it's not uncommon to have people of all ethnicities working at different universities.
But
So
yeah,
it was just a nice little touch.
really that power of community to help hold on to the light despite a lot of really terrifying things going on. The Grongi are killing thousands of people between episodes by the end of the series, so it can get pretty intense.
Point
Some
in case the
interesting.
porcupine Grongi.
Yeah.
That was
Agito was way better with its weird killings, I think.
Well, the
They were trying to do something different. Agito was
Yeah.
purposely, like, the killings were weird, impossible things, where in this they're just brutal.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't
They
about being
follow
weird, this is about,
rules,
there are
but-
rules that they're following, but at the end of the day, it's slaughtering millions of people in very brutal ways. It's not strange ways,
And this is where we got our 2-episode story arcs, which are pretty consistent through most of the
At least
Heisei
the early
Kamen Rider.
Heisei, yeah.
Kuuga has wonderful character work. It's got a very interesting and unique plot. It does have a shoestring budget though. This is not a very pretty show. Their CGI
Especially
is
the
terrible
henshin.
even by Toei standards.
Yeah.
And some people, it's aimed a little bit at an older audience than some of the series, and it is a J-Cop drama meets Kamen Rider. So some people who are more into your standard Kamen Rider find that very off-putting, so it may not be your cup of tea. But
Yeah,
it's fine.
Like, when they actually get a lot of their medicine right and getting people to the hospital, it's just like,
probably the best with
Yeah.
medicine. Granted, part of it's they didn't try when they didn't know, but at least they didn't get it
Speaking
wrong.
of shows that get medicine actively wrong at certain points,
Oh my
let's
God.
talk about Agito. And you know what, I like
We love
Agito a
this.
lot, but
Yeah.
another Agito really annoys her because she's a vet, and another Agito gets medicine wrong.
This series is great for one reason. The villain is God.
Yes.
The villain was literally.
This is the series where God gets kicked in the face.
but you.
What about medicines that they get wrong that really like specifically? I'm just
Dude does 2 surgeries by himself,
At the
like,
same time.
at the same time.
Like one hand, one
It doesn't-
surgery.
Not wearing
He
gloves.
doesn't-
back and forth.
No, he wears gloves.
Gloves. He's doing 2 surgeries, not changing gloves. He kicks his anesthesiologist out of the room.
And that's really bad to do because anesthesiology is
just pretty
really
much everything that he does, it's like, no, you wouldn't be called a great surgeon, you would be called not a surgeon because you would be kicked out due to lawsuits by now.
Well, that's why they took they did say they took away his doctoral license.
Yeah.
Or then there's when he operates on Shoichi in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I have to rewatch it to say everything they got wrong, but it was, these
Been a while.
guys had to sit through me being like, no, 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 yes.
So, I haven't seen Agito, but I'm like a mythology student at UT. What makes this a Christian mythos?
It's not. I'm not going to say like it's at the level of like it directly
Evangelion.
pulls from Christian mythos often, but it's got a lot of imagery surrounding it. It's got a cross that gets pulled out of the ocean.
It's got a lot of Gnosticism.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's got a lot of Gnostic.
Essentially, you get the combat between the creator versus the enlightened ape.
Demiurge.
Yeah, the demiurge versus Sophia is a big
Angels.
theme, and essentially the concept behind the bad guys are.
How much do people mind spoilers? Because we can.
Avoid
It is
spoilers.
part mystery. Agito is part mystery series. It's not always very good about doling out the answers to the mysteries.
You know.
Honestly,
what?
I'm halfway through Agito, and if you want to talk about it, go.
But yeah, the monsters of the week are basically angels. They've
Well,
got
it's like-
halos and everything.
And they have halos, they
They've
have
got the
wings.
I love
They've got
Supernatural.
the-
Yeah.
It's like Evangelion.
When they die,
Ish.
it's
That's a loaded phrase.
yeah.
It's a loaded phrase.
This series has Kamen Rider Hulk.
It does have Kamen Rider
Yeah.
Hulk, and his life sucks.
Gills is awesome.
You do
Being
get
Gills is suffering.
yeah.
Gills is awesome. Being Gills sucks.
Let's see.
True.
Who did you compare Gills to last
No,
time?
Job.
Job, right? Because of the constant suffering.
But other themes of this show is the concept of the self and what it means to have a sense of identity and an ego. The main character is an an amnesiac, and he really doesn't have a sense of self per se, and that is what separates him from most of the other characters in the show, and kind of what makes him special. And also a lot of the show is the potential and the danger of human progress. A lot of the show is about trying to keep humanity down from progressing evolutionarily and otherwise, because that's seen as a threat. And the contention between mortal and the divine, and how the divine wants a specific relationship with the mortal realm, and how the mortal realm isn't necessarily going to do that.
It's
just
very
because of the nature of humankind.
important to the themes of this show that along with the riders that are this like new ascended form of humanity with the supernatural powers, you also have a rider who's just a guy in a metal suit.
Yeah, he is a police officer specifically in a metal suit.
Yeah, in a
And-
metal
Amazing.
Yes.
And it's a really interesting thing because it's the duality between they're really showing that humanity and life is very progressive, while you have this divine that's much more static and wants to keep a status quo. Well, humanity, in addition to developing psychics and all these other post-humans.
I like to think that the three riders of Agito represent a nice trinity where Agito is the magical rider, G3 is the technological rider, and Gills is the biological style rider.
Yeah.
Another great thing about Agito is it does what very, very few rider series do, and the characters try and maintain secret identities.
Yep.
They do. And also, unlike another series written by that author later on, the characters communicate pretty regularly.
Yeah, which makes the whole Hikawa finding Agito thing out really great.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing is poor Gills, when he henshins, he can't speak.
Yeah.
At least until the very end.
He's also beside.
Well, that's after he gets his power up.
Yeah. So good things about the show. It's very unique. It's got a very interesting high concept, and most of the characters are really interesting, really nuanced. Even the characters that you don't necessarily like at first, you get. And by the end of the show, they make sense.
Oh my gosh, there's a character I despised that at the end is just like.
I kind of feel bad for you, dude. You've been kicked in the balls more times than any person should be kicked in the balls, no matter how I feel about him. Hojo.
I was about to say, you're talking about Hojo, aren't you?
Yes.
Yep. And you'll see in this show, this was sort of the really big show that this particular author, Toshihiko Inoue?
Toshiki Inoue.
He done a lot of Super Sentai. So he came over and did this, and this is sort of his magnum opus of the Kamen Rider franchise.
And then they kept giving him work, and he didn't really feel like putting an effort
You'll
after this.
see a lot of the tropes that he did here and did really well rehashed later on.
Yeah, we'll try to cut and paste plot lines from Agito into Faiz, into the second half of Hibiki, and most egregiously into Kiba.
Again, secret identity.
So some problems with it are that it takes a long time for some mysteries to be explained, and an excruciating pace sometimes. It can be.
This is a good marathon show.
Yeah,
I agree. I marathoned that show in a weekend, and it was great.
And some plot lines work better than others. I mean, again, your mileage may vary on another Agito. I know some people really like that plot line. And I like parts of it. There are some parts of it. Like, some of the imagery they do with another Agito is very striking, and I think having the most Showa-ish rider be not only the one who is the least morally good, but the one who specifically gets into a fight with Gills and G3, and instead of trying to finish them off with a rider kick or something, just steals G3's gun and shoots them. There is something pretty strong about that imagery.
Oh yeah.
There's something kind of wibbledy there though, where the writing has it very much people are mistaking another Agito for Agito, while the physical designs of the suits are very, very different.
Not even close. Yeah.
Not even close.
Not even.
Another Agito is gorgeous, but...
Okay, so let's talk about
I love Dragon Knight.
I know, right?
We'll talk about Miyuki for a bit, but we won't fall into it too much because apparently not a lot of people here like it because they're wrong.
I'll give a brief piece on it. Ryuki was a great show as you're watching. However, all four of its endings are not satisfying.
I love the series ending. I will fight
It's the best of the four, but they're all not great.
I find all four are canonical, with the series being the final, it works for me.
Yeah, because that's also another thing. They're all canon.
Yeah.
Well, there's an
I'll take this one. I really like Ryuki. So Ryuki's
Kamen Rider Highlander.
kinda your battle royale of the riders. You got 13 of them. They have to fight to the death, last man standing sort of thing. There's a lot of definition of a hero. This is a case where not every Kamen Rider is a hero or even a good person. You have a murderer who's a Kamen Rider.
Yeah.
Have a lawyer.
We have a lawyer who's Kamen Rider.
And there's a lot of interesting
A mercenary.
themes of the movie. One of the themes that Ryuki plays with that I found fascinating was the relativity of morality. You take this guy who's very naive, very much just wants to do the simple right thing. These people are fighting, they're gonna kill each other, I wanna stop them. As he learns more about why they're fighting, he has to question, do I have the right to stop them anymore? And that idea that, you know, once you know where that person's coming from, your ideas of the simple good and bad of it get all kinds of shades of gray. And I really like how the series handled that. And it really did a lot of what action do you take when there is no right answer, there is no easy answer. It also had a lot of just humor that was fun. It wasn't all just dark and depressing. But
The main character's
actually writes
main
really
character's
good
boss
humor
actually
for
flipped a bird by accident once.
not
Like
see
he's
that.
cleaning his desk, it's like,
by accident.
yeah.
Kitaoka and
Goro.
Goro, yeah. That was
Yeah.
great.
Or Kitaoka's date episode.
That's the quietest tension ever.
He jumps into the water though. How does that not make a noise?
It also has a very strong development arc for the main rider. Shinji is an idiot at the beginning, and while I can't say he's any more intelligent at the end, he grows a lot. And I really like it when I get to see that sort of character growth happening, so.
And all of it was for nothing.
Not true.
Yeah.
Well,
Well-
depending on the ending.
Yeah, depending on how you interpret the ending too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
It
Yeah.
feels like that there may be it may be more than just a reset, but that's neither here nor there.
So there's lots of alternate endings. It's the first time that rider doesn't mean hero of some kind.
yeah.
And it's interesting because rider becomes a really loaded term in that context, especially later on.
Unless you count people like another Agito or G4.
They're never labeled as
They're never
riders.
labeled riders.
Not in the series.
Not within the series, but then there are lots of rider series where they don't use the term rider.
Yeah, but I think that it's important that with this series, like, it's Kamen Rider Oja, it's Kamen Rider Zoldo.
Yeah, that's
These
fair.
are not good people, but Bandai and Toei are still labeling them as riders.
Like,
Yeah,
it
that's
was never Kamen Rider Shadow Moon. It was
No.
Kamen Rider Black, and then Shadow Moon, even though we're selling toys of
It was
him.
never
Yeah.
Kamen Rider Another Agito, it was just another Agito.
Yeah.
And I find it especially interesting given the specific gravitas the term rider takes on with, say, Double.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's where it
It's something
really.
that they very much bring back in the Neo Heisei shows of riders supposed to be your hero and
So there's a lot of characters in Ryuki. There's 13 riders. Every kind of shade of morality there you want, and personality. You're probably gonna like someone.
Also,
you're
unique
probably gonna
mythology
dislike them.
and god concepts that are very.
Yeah, Kamen Rider likes to
Particular.
play with god concepts.
Yeah.
yes it does.
I like it. So it was very different. And definitely your mileage may vary on it.
Yeah.
Buzz!
Yay!
So this was the next
Boy.
Inoue show.
Yeah, you love
Um,
werewolves.
The dead are coming back to life with superpowers and they want to bring everybody else into their club.
And did in one canon.
It did in one canon. You also get lots of soap opera antics. Because this is a very young cast, both in terms of actors and in terms of the characters. These characters are supposed to be, for the most part, between 15 and 18.
Yeah.
So they're less mature than you see in a lot of Kamen Rider series.
Most series have college age Kamen
The
Riders.
exception of Forza.
Well, yeah.
You
But that was it. The main motif of Forza was
Right.
high school.
You get a lot of love triangles, and this is where it gets really bad about characters just not talking to each other.
Oh god,
There are so many
Keitaro
plots that
and
get wrapped up
Yuka.
in people just
The
talking
whole
to each other.
show.
work?
I suppose if your phone is a henshin device, maybe you get confused about using it to talk to people too.
Yeah.
True.
And you get confused about using your bike to get over to those people to talk to them because your bike turns
Your
into a
bike
robot
occasionally
that
shoots
occasionally
you.
shoots in the back.
The thing is, the people who had the worst sense of communication were the ones who were the not riders, Keita and Yuka,
I
obviously.
know.
But I love Fies for one simple reason. It was the first series where they started trading powers the whole show.
Yes,
They
the
did.
belt and the henshin concept is really neat in this
What's
series.
interesting is, and this isn't necessarily the case for me, but there are a lot of people who really hate that about the show. They feel like, you know, these powers identify this rider, and to like have the Fies not only be passed around between like different main characters, but even just given to
The
random
villains.
orphanots that show up occasionally will just steal Fies.
But-
like have that sort of thing happen, it really bothers some people.
The thing is, and why I like it, is it puts the idea in viewers' heads that anybody could take that up and be a rider.
Yep. But like the big problem was a lot of people saw that as being much more Metal Hero as opposed to Kamen Rider, where it's a part of you.
Okay, I was gonna say it's not like my issue with the whole switching of the powers is that it's not that anyone can have it. That makes sense. It's just that it was so egregiously done for no reason, like you mentioned, and like there were whole plot lines where it's like, you're that bad Kamen Rider when Takumi would get it back. It's like, you're the bad one that attacked me, and it's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? It's just so, it's mostly the lack of
Again, the miscommunication
Everyone
issues.
likes miscommunication plots. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't like miscommunication plots, Inoue is probably going to drive you insane.
Oh god, Kiva too!
You can also see Inoue toying with the idea with other people. We were cool on Agito spoilers. It's okay to go with there. So with other people having the ability to become Agito,
Having the seed.
having the seed of Agito, and becoming that particularly one of the major characters. That's a spoiler even I don't want to go to. You know what I'm talking about though. And some of the other side characters that come up close to the end of the show, you can see that's where kind of Inoue is starting to toy with the idea of, well, maybe that not like the main rider can be other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
How, like, for like everyone, how do you feel about like the alternate ending when Takumi came back in Kamen Rider Tyson last year?
I thought that fixed Fies. I thought that fixed Fies.
I actually didn't like it because
Really?
the thing is, Kusaka, and I'm pretty sure most of the fandom would agree that Kusaka is one of the biggest assholes in Rider history. Why would Takumi have any sort of guilt towards him?
Yeah,
I
because
love that
Takumi-
because they addressed that. Is Takumi didn't have an issue, so he knew Kusaka was a bad person, and he still had guilt. And you see that. You see that in
It's-
people with trauma.
it's
people
survivor's
coming back.
guilt.
It's survivor's guilt. It doesn't have to be a good person who died. Just the fact that you are alive and someone else isn't.
And you are a good person
and you are
and
a
have that
good
sympathy.
person. Like I actually loved that aspect of it. That they straight up addressed that Kusaka's a terrible person. We're gonna kill his ghost.
Yeah, like what I like about that movie isn't the fact that necessarily Takumi is so distraught about him. It's that fact combined with the fact that then you have X and Haruto telling him, "No, dude, it's okay, let go. He's not worth it."
Yeah, especially because in the series itself, he's given kind of a hero's death. And
You're talking about Kusaka?
Yeah, in the series that he is.
That moment is my favorite moment in the whole show because Kiva was always my favorite character.
I would have liked that moment if Kiba hadn't been kind of character assassinated before it.
Yeah, I love 90% of Fives, but there is one plot point right near the end where the character, they introduce a main plot point right at the end without any establishment. Was frustrating, but they also had a character just face heel turn without really
building it
properly.
They don't earn it, and
it's something that they did earn in the film.
movie. Yeah,
Oh,
I feel
for
like
sure.
the movie does that storyline a lot better than the TV series.
Yeah, the movies where they totally gave Kiba his due.
Yes.
So, like, pros of the show, it's got an interesting look at heroes and villains, and it puts a lot of focus on characters who would normally be considered villains and just shows them as people.
Yes,
Also,
that's a big thing.
There's that, the humanizing of the Orphanaut characters, but also, what's the name of the big bad leader of the corporation?
Orphanaut King. No.
Oh,
Murakami?
Murakami, he's
I
the
love
best.
that guy.
Murakami is the best villain in the franchise because he's got his own evil music that he plays on a CD player in his office.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That is the best.
Okay, no, now I have a reason to watch Ties.
I also love
Oh,
that
yeah.
he was the Rose Orphanok.
Yeah,
And,
and in the movie, he was in a jar.
He's in the jar.
yeah.
Futurama style.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's something else I wanted to mention.
So Faiz, it's
Kaido is the
not
best
something
ever?
that one's- It's
Kaido is
worth
hilarious.
the watch.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
we
Kamen
got,
Rider Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, it's Kamen Rider Sakura card captors.
Or it's Kamen Rider
Fact.
Tarot.
It's
Kamen
Kamen
Rider.
Rider.
Yeah.
Kamen Rider everything
Yeah, it's
card.
Kamen Rider card captor Sakura
This
when you
is
think
true.
about it.
Which, you know, is also Tarot.
I love Blade. Okay.
I love Blade.
Blade has
There's something wrong with you.
fascinating concept behind it. It sets up its own mythology. It has, like, the origin story of the world being this battle between representatives of all of the different, well, 52 of the different species on the planet. Apparently the others didn't get to be part of the
Well,
fight.
you get these 52 mythic creatures who apparently got to win whatever process prior to that. It was very heavily insect and arachnid skewed, but then again, that kind of fits with the general balance of the world, actually.
Wait, if the ape won, that means we planted the apes.
Well, we were specifically the human one. They
Yeah.
specifically state it's the human undead one.
They won the last one, and that's why we're the top dogs.
Yeah, basically the whoever wins the fight, their species gets to
Rule
be
the
the
planet.
ones that control the planet.
And then you match up.
And each of these species, their champion is within a card. So you have like just the playing card decks, and they all get freed, and they're starting this fight all over again. And the Kamen Rider has to go and seal them back up, and somehow not actually let the fight end so that
Oh, we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
But another big thing is the Kamen Riders are part of an actual corporate structure.
Yeah, it's
So
their
they're-
job to be a
For half of episode 1.
That is
Yeah,
yeah,
the corporation
yeah,
gets
yeah.
blurred up.
You get
But
outsourced to Keitaro's cottage. Or, what's his name?
Kotaro.
Kotaro.
Yeah.
Those characters are so similar.
Is board an anagram for something?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think it is, but I forget what it's for.
It's like
Yeah.
Board of Archaeological
Research Development?
something
It might
like that.
be.
I think it is
Yeah,
that.
board has board in the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely boring.
So, one thing that Blade really plays with a lot is the idea of fate and destiny. And are we locked into the path that things are going to go, or can we take it in our own hands? In a way, it's a precursor to Gaim in that fashion.
Yeah. So we have to play 52 card pickup.
It also does a lot with definition of a hero, because the main character, Kenzaki, is very heroic, you know, very much an urge to save people. But also, at the beginning of the series, being a Kamen Rider is his job. It's just what he was hired to do.
And
So
apparently it
there's-
doesn't pay well.
There's that definition of what exactly is a Kamen Rider, what he's doing. And it plays a lot with humanity. It's one of those series that has a character who's not human, but is learning a bit more about how to be human, which is a trope I love.
AKA
So,
Kamen Rider plot.
so a couple interesting quirks is the writer changed partway through, and actually for the better for once. The beginning of the series is kind of
Really weird.
unstable.
A lot of ideas were just thrown out, and only like half of them stuck.
The first half of the series is kind of a beautiful disaster.
And then
Isn't
when-
this also the first series where they actually change opening themes halfway?
Yeah.
Yes, it is one of the only ones.
And when
Like that does it like as a
Hibiki, I believe.
Yeah.
yes, and Hibiki's another one with a writer change, but that one didn't work nearly as well. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
When the writer changes, the series really gets a much more solid footing and direction. One of the things that really caught me with it, other than just them setting up this like mythology behind what's going on, is that the monsters have all kinds of different motivations. Not all of them are just like, down with humans, destroy you all. Some of them are, but
The
you
face
also
cards.
have like the elephant guy who just wants to sit on his pool chair on the deck and not ballers.
I love him.
And you have some of them that are actually not hostile. So you
get a
have a
spider
very wide
who's
range.
a monk and just likes people.
And one of them who wasn't in the show at all until Decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And particularly in the Japanese fan base, one of the things the show is best known for is the fact that the actors had a lot of difficulty enunciating their lines, so that the audience watching at home didn't know what they were saying and just kind of made up gibberish that sounded like they were saying, and it became a meme.
Yeah, there's a lot of really fun mashups on Nika Nika Doga, which also have
I
YouTube.
love Uzoda Zone.
Yeah.
So the characters are great. It does a wonderful job with its themes. It tackles a lot of things that are just very Kamen Rider-y in essence. However, you know, like I said, sometimes, especially at the beginning, there's things there that you're just like, what, just button?
What was that?
Why was there a button?
Also, Tachibana goes through the same character arc.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
frustrating.
That's why
I
the
love
first
the
13
guy,
episodes
but-
are Kamen Rider Garen, aka whiny professor.
So that's Blade.
Hibiki. I'll grab this. Yes, this
Alright.
one is one of the more contested ones because it was actually originally conceived just as its own toku rather than as part of the Kamen Rider franchise. And during production was when it was adopted into Kamen Rider. It was actually done as part of a big push to help get children into traditional Japanese culture. It's something that you've seen also in anime and manga with Hikaru no Go, and in Super Sentai with Shinkenger, really pushing Shoto. So in this case, it was showing off how awesome taiko drumming is. But yes, so Kamen Rider Hibiki features the riders who are not called riders in this universe. They are Oni, who are highly trained humans in various forms of musical, various types of musical styles and instruments, who then go out to combat mythological creatures. Usually have these parent creatures fostering what will be a giant top-tier boss monster later on.
The Doji and Hime were
yeah.
creepy.
Yes. And
the guy who played the Doji played Bishop and Kiva.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep. And so yeah, the Doji and the Hime, they can be fought off easily enough. But when you finally have that monster, the big monster at the end, that can only be killed with pure sound. So that's why they have the whole musical instrument motif. And you had something to mention.
Yes, one thing I wanted to mention is that one thing about Hibiki does that, in all honesty, Deno sucked at, is that with its movie, it expanded on the idea of how big the Hibiki world is.
Yeah, the movie really was set in the past, and actually it's a sort of pastiche on the Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
So that was a really nifty thing. So you have, it's also set in a really interesting point of view. The lead character is arguably the high schooler Asamu, who is not a Kamen Rider, but who encounters the Kamen Rider Hibiki, who is in his 30s, so he's not a young guy. And it's sort of this coming of age story for this awkward teenager as he figures out what he wants to do with his life, especially as he ends up helping out this organization and learns more about the Oni, and does he want to become an Oni or does he want to support them and do something else? And so the first episode throws a lot of people off because there's this weird musical number where that's actually all happening in the lead character's head, and it's because he zones out because he's so disconnected from reality and the stress of getting ready for tests, getting ready to apply for schools, oh gosh. Yeah,
I actually really like the musical numbers.
Oh, I can do
Yeah.
that.
I wish
I loved it.
I wish it would have been a regular thing. I think that would have been delightful.
The first 29 episodes are very different for a Rider show. Very quiet, very introspective, and they were doing a lot of filming on location, and
So it's
Toei
very expensive.
realized they were hemorrhaging money and not making a lot of toy sales, so they decided to change the writing staff after 29 episodes.
Ironically, after that writer change, they never actually brought in the three other writers that they had made costumes for. We saw Aki briefly for a few episodes, but they had two more writers that they had made, but they didn't
So they
show
ended
up.
up losing more money because then, of course, they alienated everyone who liked the series. They didn't get back the people who weren't watching the series. It's pretty much a disaster.
They alienated
never
the
wrap
staff.
up the plot. They alienated the staff. They alienated the
They
actors.
forgot parts of their plot because there's one point everybody.
have publicly
And then they-
apologized for how they handled that.
And then they brought in the guy who sang the series ending as a character nobody liked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we got an unfortunate insight to that writer's.
Fetishes.
Yeah.
That's one way to put it.
Also, yeah, the writer change. It went back to Inoue. So this is about the point where I think Inoue just lost it.
Also, I believe this is the first writing example of a young Shoji Yonagura, who is also kind of a controversial writer.
Yeah. This is
Yoko
also our
tries.
first instance of actually having a female Kamen Rider in the series
In the TV
continuity.
series, yes.
Unfortunately, she's a bad guy and is
Yeah.
used totally to show why, oh, you shouldn't become an Oni if you want to get vengeance for your dead family. So, of course, the female lead who gets the henshin once, briefly, but never gets to be called a Kamen Rider, has to give up being a Kamen Rider.
But the first 29 episodes actually have a pretty satisfying wrap up for the emotional arcs. If
Yeah.
you just want to watch that.
Just watch the first
If
one.
you
and
want to
you're
watch
done.
the whole thing and form your own opinions, feel free to.
You've been
Some people like it.
Yeah, some
and
people
if,
do, and that's
if you
fine.
like it, again, have fun,
Here's the
enjoy
thing.
it,
Watch
but
the second half for Kiria, aka
it's-
Xeranos
you
Jr.
do
Yeah.
get-
Yeah, but he's so unlikable during that point compared
They,
to Xeranos.
they introduce a counterpoint, lead character who's very cartoonish, very over the top. It's the exact opposite of the very reserved Asamu.
Kabuto.
Hold on a sec. How many people here really want us to talk about Kabuto? Because we're getting to the
starting at
last
20 minutes.
20
Yeah.
minutes, so.
We can get to some Neo Heisei.
Kabuto
Most of us started watching
is
it.
very wibbly.
Deno, I mean, we do have Deno over there, and that's a great costume.
I just want to say, Deno, take some time to hit stride because you don't really get character development until a good 15-20 episodes in. And that does really interesting things with the
Yeah, I
idea
like
of time
Deno a lot.
travel. It's very unorthodox with presentation of time, not as a sequential, stream, but actually as an amalgam of memories and
A
experiences.
couple quick call-outs for Deno. I really liked what they did with the main character's character arc in developing him and strengthening him, and how they showed in him the concept that you can be strong without being aggressive.
You can be
And
gentle.
I thought that was fascinating.
One quick thing is that am I the only one here that got confused about the whole Sakurai Yuto thing?
Yes.
Like his,
I got confused.
beginning, middle to end, I was, in all honesty, confused.
It is a complicated story arc. I liked it a lot, but
He's
it's
addicted to
very.
himself.
You know what really bugs me? To this day, I've not been able to find a picture of the actor who played the older Sakurai.
I don't know if we've ever actually seen it.
You never see his face.
I'm sure that he's got an IMDb page or something.
I looked last time I looked,
He
there was no
always covers
picture.
it with his hat.
Yeah, no, I have no idea what.
But yeah, that was wibbly
Older
wobbly
Sakurai.
timey wimey where
Stuff.
the older Sakurai is busy, so he grabs his younger self out of the time stream and gives him a very dangerous power, kind of a self.
Again,
He's willing
it's
to kill
spoilers.
himself to save the world.
But
Most
yeah,
of it's Kamen Rider slapstick though, but it's good. It's good enough to spawn all the movies.
Unfortunately,
Enough said.
the movies later on make the characters kind of caricatures of themselves. All that character development that went into Momotaro's in the series, gone.
I just want to say, episode Yellow is one of the greatest time travel.
I love this.
That was
Yes,
really fun.
episode
Actually,
yellow is
I only watched
One
it
more
for the
quick
end.
thing is the
Yeah.
Imagine anime.
Yes, the Imagine animation.
Oh god.
the Imagine anime.
Kiva we'll briefly go through. We don't like Kiva that much, to be honest.
Unfortunately,
I liked
it
it.
recycled a lot of ideas. It had some really cool stuff. It bounced back and forth between the parents' generation and the modern generation. Unfortunately, that means that all the monsters the parents fought, they never actually killed them. So it makes everybody in the
Not
past-
all of them.
Well,
The
most
first
of them.
time Ixa fights, he kills one.
Yeah, but it makes the parents, especially the female characters who are kind of introduced as being vampire hunting Belmonts, Fangire hunting Belmonts. I love the aesthetics. Oh my gosh, the Fangires are gorgeous. They look like stained glass. But
Well, they are.
yeah, the characterization kits all over the place. You have a character named Nago who 1 minute he's like Javert, I will ignore everything because I must hunt down and kill the Prince of the Fangires. And other episodes it's like, oh yeah, I'll team up with you and we'll beat this bad guy, but
Yeah, I'll go on a group date with your friends.
Yeah.
And then order
So-
everyone's food like a badass.
and Wataru's characterization is kind of wibbly for a while.
The-
Or there's this note on Nago. I think I'm watching through it right now. I think I'm on like 39, but yeah, they completely drop him as soon as the Ixa arc is done with the female riders. Like,
Yeah, which is also terrible because like the female riders, their entire purpose.
No, they're going to bring him back for one more arc that's really annoying because it would have been much better if they just gave the armor back to the girl who knows how to use it really well.
Especially where
Because
Nago is late game.
It's retelling a story that happened that
In
made sense in
Agito.
Agito because you have the one guy who's the only one.
Yeah, there's spoilers.
Inoue has a lot of writing quirks that if you watch his shows, you'll see things come up again and again. They tend to really annoy me. Other people really like them, so
And what you're saying about Wataru's characterization, most of the show he's kind of uninteresting, but the moments where he does like grow a pair and do a thing are entirely satisfying.
The main problem I have there is it's not consistent.
they don't earn
No,
it.
I agree that it's not consistent, but when it happens, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, but again, there's differences in tastes. I get very focused on characters and characterization, so there are things that frustrate me here that don't necessarily frustrate other people. And
Again, if you enjoy it, more power to you. Have fun.
speaking of things, really great characterization. The plot.
Yeah, like
AKA Kamen Rider, let's spoil the last 10 years.
Decade is one of my favorite. Decade is one of all of our favorite shows, but I will make no bones about it. The plot is kind of trash.
They swapped writers halfway through, and
Plot is
the
not
other
one of her
person
strong points.
was really good at continuing to write the characters and keep everybody in character. But the story, the plot got thrown off a cliff, and
Black and white
they came up in the movies, but the first movie didn't slot in well with the series, and
The best thing about that show was the Shinkenger crossover.
The Shinkenger crossover was awesome. I love the characters. I actually love a lot of the themes and the meta they try to work with. But again, if having a consistent plot is important to you, Decade will probably drive you crazy.
But it doesn't
This
really.
was my first show, so, like this was
Interesting.
my first Toku show period. So I was like, what am I getting myself into here?
And they tried to fix it in the movie wars and it was just as bad.
Well, it's because they already had shot 90% of the end movie, and then they threw 90% of that out and redid it so that they could shove it together with the movie lore. And
I know, like the funny thing is the whole Riders versus Shocker movie was supposed to be the end of the Decade story, and it completely was not.
yeah.
Hey, Kiva's really good.
And apparently she's more worthy of a figure art.
Yeah.
She's more worthy of a figure arts than Kiva base form.
Yep.
Yep.
That's my reaction to that.
27
At least give me Doga form. I'll buy that. Oh, one other thing about Kiva real quick. Was anyone else as pissed off as I am that we never got Basha fever? Garulu fever twice, Doga fever once, no Basha fever.
The suit for Kiva had a number of chains dangling from it. Those chains were real metal. Especially the leg is completely wrapped in chains that he has to lift over his head before he does the rider kick.
Takaiwa thought he was going to die if they kept making
It
him
was
use that suit.
the
so
heaviest
they
suit in
made-
the franchise.
Yeah, he was like, no, I need another suit.
Hey, that
please,
rider
dear
kick
God."
looked amazing on screen, so.
So that's why we got the power up, and they pretty much didn't use the base suit anymore because they didn't want to break their suit accident.
Especially because this guy has played every Kamen Rider except Kuuga and Hibiki.
In the past.
In the
You can
past.
tell
15
if
years.
you look at like the hand pose of Kamen Rider, it's the same like exact hand pose.
Yeah. So
Anyway.
I thought they worked
Double is so Decade was very much a nostalgia trip. Yes, it spoiled some things,
It also really.
but it also you'll be surprised if you base what you expect the alternate the original show to be on.
Well, yeah,
on
they
the
change a lot
alternate
of things, but it still
universes.
spoils a few key plot points.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I can
We
see how
watched-
Fives could
Yeah.
be a bit ruined for you from that.
Yes.
We watched Decade as like our third
Yeah.
rider, and we had a lot of fun with it. We've rewatched it since then, so we think it's really cool. But Double, after they kind of wrapped up the first decade, they switched the tone a little bit, and Double was the first of that new tone. What's often called the neo
It's
Heisei.
much brighter
very
in tone.
bright.
One of the things about Double that it does particularly, and we see that in some following shows, is instead of just being set in Tokyo,
Nazis, cults, and drugs are bad.
instead of just being set in Tokyo, it makes its own city, and it gives that city its own life and character, and I think that really adds to the flavor of the show.
It's so noir, while also being kind of half-boiled.
That's Techo.
Futo is her own place.
Futo is her own
I
place.
love Futo.
And like they said, it's a noir detective show.
Hiro
You've got
Hiko
two
deserved
heroes
better.
become one rider. It was a
Drugs are bad.
jumping on point for a lot of people. It's a lot of fun. One character gets really, really screwed over in the end, though.
The character gets really, really screwed midway through, but
As I mentioned, this is a series that really brings in the term rider and gives it this particular powerful meaning that it definitely played with again.
the Kamen Rider Double is very explicitly called Kamen Rider by the media in the franchise within series.
The
Very
cool-
tightly plotted. This is the same writer as Drive, so if you notice similarities
And
between
Shoryuger.
the two shows.
The cool thing about
The red motorcycle.
The cool thing about Double is while it was airing, in a couple episodes you hear Philip listening to Walk On the radio, and the cool thing about Double is while it was airing, there actually was a radio program.
That's awesome. That is
Wind
awesome.
Wave was a real radio show.
That's fantastic.
Oh, do you want to, since this is your other favorite?
So O's is written by the same writer who did Ryuki and
Demo
Demo
and
A lot of sentai.
yeah,
lot of
like she
sentai.
did.
And you can tell they've improved since
She
then.
did Shinkenger, she did Time Ranger,
Go Busters.
she did Go Busters, she did
Tokyo.
Tokyo. What else has she done recently? She's done a lot of anime. She was head writer on the Shingeki no Kyojin, Attack on Titan anime, and
O's I found to
oh
be
man, she's done a lot.
O's I found to be a little slow to start, but once it hit its stride, it did some really powerful things.
It's another good marathon show.
One of the things that I really thought was fascinating about it is it discussed what it means to be a hero and what it means to be selfless, but it made it so that being selfless was not a good thing. And usually in shows with heroics, you have like, oh, look at this selfless hero, he will sacrifice everything to save everybody, and that's put on a pedestal. And that's not always a good thing, because you also kind of need to look after yourself, because there's people that care about you. And O's addresses that as one of its themes, and I thought that that was fascinating. It's another one that plays with a not human character learning to like humanity, which again is the thing.
Anka's best character.
Yeah.
Best bird arm.
Also, there. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just, in regards to what you were saying with always having a slow start, I felt it was more, it had a strong start for me, but then there was that lull in the middle.
Yeah, that's more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the thing is,
Pacing isn't always Kobayashi.
the plot of O's I find to be very shallow because it starts off going, okay, here's what we do, we gotta get all the medals. By the end of the show, there is nothing else beyond, we got all the medals, game over.
Yeah, I think
There, it's the character arc.
Exactly,
That's
the
part of it.
characters are what makes O's great.
Show than a
Exactly.
long show.
Kobayashi tends to write very
Plus, I really like the
character-driven
aesthetic of the O's system itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I commend it just for having the final conflict not used as most powerful form.
Yes.
And that being very
Well,
difficult.
because
The
I like
plot
the fact
form.
the most powerful form had consequences.
Yeah, and that's what you
Severe
don't see
consequences.
often.
Yes, it's the Fang Joker trope.
Yes.
There's also something else really interesting about Forza, or excuse me, about O's. that it was constantly changed while it was being written. Like, originally we were going to have a separate,
Another villain.
another villain show up who didn't actually, yeah.
Because they mentioned it in the
in the
movie War
movie.
4.
Talk about Forza.
Which one?
Okay, sorry about it.
minutes, so we want to get to
Forza
that.
is best rider next.
It was made to make children happy directly after the incidents and the earthquake, so that's why it's so happy and hopeful and
Funny note
friendship.
about earthquake.
And
The
annoying.
earthquake happened the day
Kamen
they
Rider
were filming
PlayStation.
the first Butotira scene.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's
jeez.
like it's
Yeah.
even the world in real life was telling them no, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, Forza is best rider next. I know people want to talk about Gaim, so Forza is best rider
Yeah.
next.
Wizard
Wizard is
is.
okay.
Wizard was pretty, that's it.
Wizard
Well,
was okay next.
It was wasted opportunity.
Wizard,
Yeah.
Wizard did a good job of making the monsters of the week make matter.
Yes.
That was about
But
it.
the overall plot was
Three
not
really good endings.
Yeah, Wizard has 3 really good endings.
But its plot could have been condensed into like a
About
5-episode.
half
Yeah.
Wizard was pretty, Haruto was a bland stick.
I enjoyed
Other
it.
than their
There are
lives.
some episodes in Wizard in which he has fantastic acting. The actor is
Yeah.
good, he just wasn't
He
given
just
the
wasn't
opportunity.
given
That's
much,
exactly
which is
it.
why
Infinity
it's got
episodes.
3 really good endings
Yeah.
because they actually gave him things to do and things to play off of and
Okay,
So Gaim is the show everybody wants to talk about, so let's talk about Gaim for a minute.
Do you guys see Gaiden?
Yes.
It was so
Yes,
good.
we did. It was fascinating because it really helped. Like it's a movie where set of movies I suppose where I really felt like this would be really good to just stick in. Like if you're showing this show to someone, just stick into
In the middle of the
Gaiden.
in the
20s.
middle.
Yeah, and then the last minute of the Baron Gaiden happened. I was just like, well, damn. Never mind. It
The last
spoils
10
everything.
seconds has spoilers.
Yeah, the last 10 seconds.
I actually thought they managed to hold the shows within the canon pretty well because he
Yeah.
smashes the Ringo lock.
And I
Yeah, but
Well,
I
no, I'm saying it
But
would be
what
great
the
to slot
Flash,
in,
like-
but
like-
there
it
is a
spoils what's going to happen
happened to Kaito.
Oh yeah, the shadow,
exactly. Like
You're absolutely right.
because of that scene, I'm just like, well, I can't really show this to
Here's what
anybody.
you do: you just cut out that one shot.
That's exactly what I
Your
said.
eyes now.
I think it's really good. Does a good job of tying the lore to the other movie with the Golden
Yeah.
Ringo lock scene.
Yes.
We're experimenting. We have tapped into the Golden
Yeah.
Power.
And
we only did get that far.
And we're
gives
getting a
us
Duke movie.
Ryoma
Next time,
backstory
the-
that really
the-
makes
the
a lot of
ball
lore
box.
things make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also up until we saw the Zangetsu movie, like when we had heard that there was going to be a Duke movie, we were just like, okay, I really enjoy seeing Ryoma on screen because
I know,
he's
right?
hilarious.
He's been.
But
What are they
what are they going to do for a full movie? But now that they've given him that backstory, I'm just like, okay.
Okay, that's
I am
fine.
very ready for this.
Although I'm more excited about the People's Champ getting his own movie.
Oh, Knuckle?
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. Only
Yes. They
it was
weren't
a different group.
different group, subgroup. Acer Subs is basically imploded
Yeah,
on
they're-
itself.
they're-
Yeah.
And TVN hasn't done
Hasn't done it yet. I can't remember the name of the subgroup, but if you look
I think
up,
it's like Orange
I know, I'm doing
Lion.
tomorrow.
yeah, I think it's Orange Line or something
Yeah,
like
Orange
that.
Line is the one.
Yeah, but it's subbed. They're decent subs. It's very good. It adds some
Did
good
a few updates.
history for Takatora and essential backstory to Kaito. Like
Yeah.
this
Oh, yeah.
explains his character.
Oh my
Thank
man, that was.
God.
Like, oh, that's
That's
what happened when
exactly
you were a
why.
kid.
It's
It
That's
perfectly
how fucked up
explains
your
his
childhood
character.
was.
Yeah.
But the best thing about the Zangetsu movie is how it did the perfect job painting over Takatora's evil corporate image from the early show and making him out to be the hero of the story that we all knew he was by the end of the show.
This is his tragic jadedness. This
Yeah.
is why.
So
Oh.
Gaim is very much, well, don't really have much time.
It's coming of age is a big
That
thing.
clock's actually 5 minutes past.
Yeah.
Is there supposed to be a panel in here after this?
I don't know.
I don't know, but we've got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I
sure
just
they'll come
want to say the big conflict is whether or not you have to give up your childlike imagination of what everything can be. Do you have to give that up and say the world is like this, so I have to settle for this much?
Yeah.
It's a
and-
huge jumping on point for a lot of people, both in Japan and here, because it was a new writer. Toku tends to have a stable of writers they go to, and here they brought in the Madoka Magica.
Yeah, a lot of people signed on because it was Urobuchi, even though it was like fruits, locks, samurai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the theme was given to them by Bandai. It was originally going to be like animal themed again.
Good job.
And then Bandai said, okay, we polled children in Japan. The 3 favorite fruits are oranges, bananas, and grapes.
So your primary writer will be an orange, your second will be a banana, and then you'll have a grape.
And they hired a guy who hates bananas. Good job.
Yeah, and everybody's just like, oh great, what the frick do I do with this? And he
Wasn't
said,
it that he wrote the ending first and then worked his way back?
yeah, actually that's a very common way for a lot of writers is to make your target at the end, make your target at the start, and then fill in. And that helps create consistency.
The other interesting thing
also-
about the show was written very much more in the style of modern anime, and that it was written basically with 13 episode cores in mind.
Yeah, so you have 13 episode arcs, and he doesn't consider the lead character to be a writer until a certain part in the middle.
Actually,
Well,
one
another
thing is that
interesting
he didn't actually write the last episode. He
No,
actually wrote the episode
he-
before.
Well, the last episode was a wrap up for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
You
actually,
kids
think about
okay.
episode 46 is the actual finale. Think about that for a quick sec.
Yeah, well, but he did supervise the last episode.
Yeah.
It's not outside of the realm.
And I think it's very important to have
I thought the last episode was a pretty okay aftermath episode.
Yeah, I really
Action's
liked
one of my
it.
favorite things.
Well, I was gonna say another quirk is that he actually wrote, other than like the crossover episodes and the movie tie-in episodes, he basically wrote the entire thing, which
He
is also
did, which
something that
doesn't
doesn't happen
happen
very often.
very often.
Yeah, although
You know
a lot
when
of episodes
wrote-
were co-written by other
Yeah,
with
yeah.
other people.
The Geek Editor episode.
Can I just say I hope we get a Bravo guide in?
At this point,
That's what everyone deserves.
At this point, I'd say anything is possible.
Oh, I want Kurakage, guys.
Like-
I want to see the barracks, the Kurakage trooper barracks, how they train.
You don't want to see Heisei get his own movie. You just want to see all the other Kurokage.
Heisei tie into that somehow. I don't
Yeah.
care how they do it.
Somehow it had to be
Something about him
worship
sneaking
that.
into the
barracks
training
is
grounds.
just this big, like,
Yeah, there's a
montage.
shrine to Heisei.
Yes!
Which is why all the Kurokage. Okay, I'm not even gonna say that because
They're gonna idolize the one guy who you know what happened.
Oh, my heart's full.
And yes,
Drive.
Drive.
We don't have slides for it, but we like it a lot.
Chase.
yeah. Drive has fascinating villains again. Same writing staff as Double, and it really shows. You've got a police detective, and they're fighting artificial intelligence villains.
And we've got our Kamen Rider and his detective and his partner are very much the straight men, straight women to this ridiculous world and ridiculous police force.
And Crib.
They're the misfits of the police
Let's be
force.
straight, your Crib is a goof.
Also, I love it.
Crib
The
is
belt
ass.
is a person. He is a character in and of himself.
And the cars have personality.
What is a
Yes.
belt? A miserable little pile of secrets.
Are awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
the chief might be my favorite character, and like for the
Yes!
first half of the series, he was for the first half of the series, he was my favorite character, quasi-ironically, and now he's legitimately my favorite
I
character.
just want to say I ship, let's see, Dimension Cab.
And Dream Vegas,
We all-
like everyone does.
They bought Dimension Cab and Dream Vegas in Japan on their honeymoon.
I ship Gen and Deco Traveler.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about
We're
that.
done.
Thank you. Last panel ran long, so we
That was
ran
last
long.
note.